I do, but okay. I wanted to throw them at you. It's like
yeah. No, I don't want to know. I just want to make sure we have some structure.
I've got some structure for this discussion today, but I wanted to do a bit of an introduction as well.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new podcast called Gamertag and Bradley. One of the reasons I think we both wanted to do this is because we used to be on a podcast called the VR Crewcast, which was a really good time. Brad's obviously always got a lot to say. If you follow him on X with all his tech insider information and stuff. And I think one of the reasons I think this might work well is because I'm not really big on tech. Like, I'm more about gaming. I do understand pretty basic stuff. And I find myself a lot of the time saying to Brad, what the hell does this mean? So I'm assuming, hopefully, there's some people out there who also think, what does that mean? So I'm hoping the combination of basic gamer and tech enthusiast can make something pretty special. So that's the introduction done. How you doing, Brad? You good?
Yeah, I'm awesome. Hi, I'm Brad, and I just want to add to what you said there. It's also useful for me because I'm like so disconnected from gaming, I feel, that you can fill in the spots of what I'm missing, especially in VR gaming. I'm just a crazy person. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, many times throughout this podcast, but I'm just a crazy person who uses these headsets for things that most normal people won't do probably for 20 years. But yeah.
Would you still say your like go-to headset is the Apple Vision Pro? I mean, obviously that's what you're recording with today and using. And I remember when you first got it, I remember all that stuff. I remember us talking about it on the VR Crewcast, and we were saying like how far the personas have come.
Yeah, they switched from mesh-based to Gaussian splat, which is probably something I'll talk about a lot on this podcast as well, because that is like truly the future, I think, of just recording or showing off content from your world and sharing it to people. But yeah, it's come a long way, and the Vision Pro is still my baby. It's all, I do everything on it. Like, it's just really feels like a peek to the future, even if it's like a really expensive peek to the future. They released the M5 version back in, I think, October, and I instantly purchased that upgrade for two reasons. One, I do actually use my headset like a crazy computer, so that like extra processing and higher refresh rate does matter to me. And also the other reason was I wanted to get my wife into the headset because they recently have done stuff with like local share play, which means it's like the co-location features on Quest, but it's more for like, you want to watch a movie together, you can literally share that window on Apple TV or whatever, HBO Max or whatever, and it shares the size, spacing, and everything, and you can watch with your partner in the same. And it's awesome because when they move around the screen and resize it, you see it. And we've been doing that literally every night. We make it a point to like watch a episode or movie of something every night. So, which is good for me because I get to see my wife's reaction to how the technology is progressing, and she's also not very techy, but she likes watching stuff. So it's interesting to see her reactions to certain aspects of the technology. But yeah, I still love all this stuff. It's great.
What are you guys watching at the moment? Is there like a particular series you're enjoying?
Yeah, we just finished Pluribus. That was freaking phenomenal. Loved that a lot. Now we're finally watching Severance, which it took me a while to start that.
Mate, I love Severance. I thought that was such a... Are you just on the first season?
We literally just finished the first episode last night, and we're definitely hooked into the concept.
Yeah, it's so good because I think you need shows like that to really like make you want to pay that subscription models for these services.
Yeah, like I've not used Apple TV like ever, but Pluribus is what really got me because I heard so many people talking about it, and Severance seems to be another banger just from that first episode. So yeah, whatever they're doing great. I also, I subscribe to Disney Plus, and I'm like, a lot of it's pretty garbage, actually. Like, if you've seen all the Disney movies, there's nothing for you there. There's like, it's all the same crap. But yeah,
I actually subscribed to Disney over Christmas, and I've just cut it off. I've just finished it, and it's because all I watched on there was Family Guy. That was it. And I'd seen most of them anyway, or pretty much all of them, but for some reason I was watching them all again, and I thought, this is not worth paying for.
Yeah, and they keep raising the prices too. I'm like, what who is buying this? This is like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. So the last time we spoke was before the big Steam Frame announcement.
Yeah.
And the Steam Cube, the Gabe Cube, whatever they want to call it, which is actually, I didn't realize that is actually a really big deal for many people. Are you going to get one of those?
Yeah, I feel like I have to get the whole set, even if I don't use them that much. I just feel like I'm almost obligated to. No, yeah, I'm actually, other than the Steam Frame, I'm more excited about the controller than the Steam Machine itself, because the controller I've heard very good things about from people who have early units.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems people are super hyped about the Steam Machine, but we don't know the price yet. And my feeling is when they announce the price, that might lower the hype a bit, especially with all the memory crisis going on. But it's cool
Yeah.
they did that. Like, it was way more. I kind of theorized a year. Actually, holy crap! Remember, I think you have the video still on the Crewcast channel where I was kind of talking about Valve making a console that would stream VR and all that stuff. And then a year after that, I was like, wait a minute. I noticed from my sources that both the Steam controller and the Steam Frame controllers were like at the same point of the tooling process for mass production. So I'm like, is Valve gonna try to do this all at once? Because the timing of that was weird. And I kind of threw a tweet out there, not really sure if that was gonna happen, but holy crap, it happened. And that is the weirdest thing, is a company just releasing an onslaught of hardware
Yeah.
all at once like this. This is
Yeah. They got the
very
Steam Deck,
crazy.
so they got handheld in there, which arguably is probably the thing it's probably the least popular thing they're going to have now. Well, I don't know. I don't know how Steam Frame's going to do, but Steam Deck, I mean, people talk about it like it's a big success. It's probably sold as many as PSVR 2 has, I think, like maybe 5 million in total or something. I'm pretty sure. Could be
Yeah,
more.
that's probably around there.
Yeah, something like that. But like the Steam Machine, I'm thinking to myself, this is crazy, because suddenly at the moment with Xbox, this hardware not really going anywhere, even though you keep hearing murmurings. People are waiting for PlayStation 6. They're entering the console market. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it is to me. And then there's no like monthly fees to play online. It's an open system, with mods and all these other things. I think it's going to be a massive shock to what gaming is today,
Yeah, and I think even if it's like, I don't know, $700 or whatever, which is slightly more than I guess people expect consoles to be, the idea that anyone can just buy this and connect whatever headset they own via Steam Link to it is also a value add to it. So
Yeah.
there's sort of an interesting PCVR adoption thing to be talked about there. Even if the hardware is not going to have like insane capabilities for VR, it still will be above minimum standard to play like Half-Life Alyx or something. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see how it goes. I think their biggest problem, other than the memory crisis, which might also be a plus for them, because if the memory crisis is happening, people are less likely to build their own PCs because of component prices. They're actually more likely probably to buy a Steam machine. But also they're still running into problems with the anti-cheat stuff for multiplayer games, which I think is the biggest thing they solve for that console market thing, because I think a lot of people buy consoles just to play like Call of Duty or whatever. And yeah.
It's either way, man, it's massive. And then obviously we've got Steam Frame. So I think part of the reason we want to do this podcast is 2026 is going to be obviously a very interesting year for VR. I don't know how interesting it's going to be software wise, because games take 2 or 3 years to develop. Yeah, I look forward to seeing what Meta do in the space, because that's something I was going to ask you. Do you think with the announcement of Steam Frame, they kind of got a little bit worried? I mean, they must have known this was coming.
There was that news a couple weeks ago. I forget the journalist that broke the news, but it was basically a roadmap leak of Meta where they basically said, hey, we're going to delay the very small mixed reality glasses project to 2027 so they can polish it more, which, by the way, I think is the right choice, because holy crap, I don't want them to do another Quest Pro situation. But
No.
but they also said something that was, I guess, kind of exciting for people who were worried that Meta has given up on VR gaming, is they have reopened the project of like a Quest 4 or whatever, even if that might come around 2028 and they're going to do upgrades or that. But at the same time, whenever I see a roadmap leak like that, especially at the timing that it was, I always feel that was kind of on purpose, just to kind of like, hey, people are talking a lot about Steam Frame. This thing can practically play Quest games here and there. I think there's a little bit of like intentional worry, and they just want to get that out there to be like, remember, we're still in this market. We'll still have stuff in the future for you. Don't give all your money to Valve, sort of thing. So yeah, I think there was a little bit worry there.
Yeah, I do see though, like especially in the VR community, a lot of people are multi-headset adopters. You know, they
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting with the Meta ecosystem. That's one of the things I think people are kind of shying away from Steam Frame initially, is because all they think they're going to be playing is games they already have. So they're probably going to. The people who are already in VR are going to probably hold off a little bit, see whether there's any real big improvements. Is because that's one of the big things which drove Quest 3 is like our game has Quest 3 enhancements. So that was something I wanted to talk to you about, was how much we know it's got more RAM.
Mm-hmm.
We know it's got a better CPU. Is it the Gen 3 they're putting in this one?
Yeah, Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. Yep.
Yeah, pancake lenses, a little bit of a taller FOV, I think vertical FOV.
I've seen a chart of someone measuring their FOV, and it's gonna be, for some people it's gonna be larger FOV than index both ways.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, dude. That'd be
Not
crazy.
like amazingly wide, but I think some people, if they have the right face for it, they'll notice like, huh.
Dude, I remember trying index. It blew me away. Like it absolutely blew me away. I felt like I went from an HTC Vive. I think it was like the Pro, one of the original old ones. I went from a Valve Index into the Vive, and it actually felt like I had like binoculars on the wrong way. I was like, this is awful. I never did get a Valve Index though, because I didn't want base stations.
Yeah.
So do you think like the extra power of Steam Frame will make a bit of a big difference to games? You know, because I think developers, obviously they're going to be thinking we're going to relaunch the same games potentially that are on Quest 3, but they're going to hopefully add some sort of incentive.
I think there'll be a pretty okay boost to games, like a 30% boost over performance for most things. Now, the interesting thing is you actually, and this is something a lot of people didn't realize. So they made a, honestly, I didn't actually like their announcement of the Steam Frame. They did not tell as much as the actual headset can do. They made a big deal about the dongle and like the foveated streaming thing, which doesn't impact performance on the PC that's streaming to the headset. It just like allows the bandwidth to be focused on the spot that you're looking, which you can do on Quest Pro as well, actually. But you can actually, and this has been released, they've updated both the Unreal and Unity plugins for this. You can actually enable foveated rendering in games that are running standalone on the Steam Frame. So that, I think, will be where things get more interesting other than just the standard 30% boost. I know the Climby, there's a dev who made a game called Climby. He's been posting some videos like showing off the performance of how he runs the game on Quest compared to Steam Frame, and he's getting quite higher frame rates. And a lot of it, again, it has to do with the CPU on the XR2 Gen 2 is actually pretty cut down compared to the full flagship chip that they're using on the Steam Frame. So a lot of it has to do with just not just more powerful GPU, but a way less. It's a more powerful CPU. There's foveated rendering on board if devs take advantage of it, and they're not having to worry about. I mean, this kills me, but they're not putting too much performance into stuff like pass-through, which if you turn on pass-through on a Quest for any game, that usually hogs up a ton of the resources from that chip.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a VR-focused thing, but there will also definitely be a color pass-through module coming out pretty soon.
I mean, literally in all of what you've just said was one of the things that I battled a lot in comments when I made a Steam Frame video about Quest 3 versus Steam Frame, is that a lot of people assumed like the eye tracking would automatically be used to improve PC performance. Well, we know that's not the case now, but the eye tracking could be used for standalone games on Steam Frame. But what I wanted to know is there a way that possibly you could use the headset wired with PCVR and then it could be used for the eye tracking? As far as
I understand, there's no like display port link or anything for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess theoretically there could be some sort of driver, like there's some driver based foveated thing, but it's more like a super sampling where it actually doesn't improve performance. It just makes a foveated area more high resolution, like the NVIDIA VRSS, I think they call it. But the problem is when you're doing that wirelessly, which is what you'll do, a lot of those driver-based foveated rendering things don't take into account the latency of that process. So I don't know. I don't think we're gonna see anything right away that benefits the PC unless you're using another tethered headset that's doing their own thing.
Yeah, I'm really excited to do the wireless thing. You know, a lot of people love PCVR in that way. I know a lot of PSVR2 owners haven't necessarily experienced wireless VR yet, but it is a game changer without a doubt. And eventually, all headsets will be wireless in that way. And I mean, it had to be using Steam anyway. What I was going to be asking you was about the UI in Steam Frame. Has there been any indications of what that's going to look like? Is it, for example, your background now, which is what I've got, just the standard Steam VR kind of background? Will it be a VR user kind of UI, basically the same as Steam?
It looks very similar to the Steam VR UI that we have now in VR, just running standalone. There's some minor UI changes that are slightly different, but for the most part, it looks exactly the same right now as that.
Yeah.
That as I was complaining about how they didn't really show off a lot of the stuff, at least I'm more interested in for it. Frankly, from what I understand, a lot of that system level stuff is not even ready yet, which is kind of terrifying because we're getting fairly close to it. But yeah, it looks like this. And also another interesting thing is if you ever use the Steam Deck, there's a desktop mode which allows you to boot up into what they call KDE Plasma. It's a full Linux desktop. That also runs in the VR mode, just like how if you open the Steam VR menu, you have, the Steam UI, and then you can click your desktop, which is usually just streaming your desktop from your PC. Well, this is its own self-contained actual running desktop, running the full Linux system. And there's a lot of interesting things, I think, that as time goes on, and especially people mess with, that this will kind of be a more self-contained computer than a lot of the other headsets that are advertising themselves as self-contained computers. And that's what interests me. Because every overlay, every window, if you launch, theoretically, like an app that's built for Windows, and I'm going to use Blender as an example, or not Windows, Linux. I'm going to use Blender as an example. You probably don't want to run Blender on this because of the performance, but still you could. That would launch in its own contained overlay running GameScope, a compositor that's used for Steam Deck. So it's literally built low latency, and there's a lot of benefits to doing that. That's the stuff I want to see, and I'm going to dive into when it comes out. It has the streaming, it has the standalone, it has the possible spatial computing values. There's a lot of interesting stuff that I think will be done with it that they haven't shown off.
I mean, you said we're getting close, so that's what I was going to ask you as well. Like, are we still looking at a February kind of time for release, or?
Yeah, I think February. I'm betting more March, but yeah, it's as far as I know, that has not changed. They're just kind of rushing to get the software ready more than anything.
Yeah, and when we was talking about Steam Deck, you get Steam Deck verified games. Do you think they're going to be doing Steam Frame?
Oh, yeah, they already. That's already confirmed. Yeah,
cool.
That exists.
So I think it was Digital Foundry were talking. I think they went hands on with the Steam Frame. At least one of the guys did. And one of the things they brought up was about battery life. And at the time, it seemed like Valve didn't want to talk about necessarily what it is. Like they're still testing and stuff. And I don't want to be quoted on this, but I think one of them said roughly 90 minutes is what they were getting now. Do you think that's correct? Like, I mean...
Yeah, I think they said, it could be as low from 60 minutes or up as high as, 4 hours. And they're basically saying if you play games standalone, it'll be on the low end. But if you're just streaming from your PC, it'll be on the high end of that value.
How do we get... I mean, is there going to be, a power puck for this thing?
So the back of the head is a full contained battery. So if you plug in, that
any USB, I guess, any USB powered.
Yeah, as far as I know, they're including a 45-watt charger in the box for it. So that's kind of what they recommend if you want to keep playing and charging it at the same time.
That's interesting. And now the other thing I found really interesting, which I didn't really touch on too much when I heard about it, is the expansion port on the front of the headset. I think a lot of people are talking about how they want to add full body tracking, things like that, or even external accessories like base stations, which I found a bit strange. But some people think it's going to be a lot more precise. Maybe they haven't experienced inside out tracking. Personally, I find it very decent. I've got no issues with it at all. What's your take on the expansion port?
Here, there's benefits and okay, let me say it this way. There's pros and cons to it. The pros is it could theoretically do way more than what they called the front did on the index, which was just really kind of like a USB hub that connects all the way to your PC. I think the first thing you'll see right away for that expansion slot is actually a color pass-through module. I'm very sure about that. Like, very, very sure. I think you'll also, people are talking about using it as adding a face tracker because it has eye tracking on the headset, but there's actually nothing that does. It doesn't do right now hand tracking or face tracking. So there's a lot of people saying, well, will someone make a face tracker adapter for it? And there's some, and this is where we get in the cons of they use like an actual PCIe plugin sort of thing, which actually adds more engineering costs for accessory makers to do it. So I think you're more likely to see official stuff. You'll see a more official stuff. I wouldn't be even surprised if we see Pimax start releasing things for this thing, because you have to have really impressive engineering resources to really make something like that. But one thing that kind of flew over people's heads is there's actually another port on the headset that plugs into the facial interface. That's a USB, basically a standard USB port, and that's actually how it connects the audio, because the audio is actually built into the facial interface, the little speakers.
Yeah.
But you can also, I think if someone makes a face tracker, there'll be people trying to make an interface that connects into that little port, right above your eyebrows. So I do think you'll see some stuff. I think it's going to be a lot slower for the expansion slot stuff, but the capabilities could be theoretically pretty cool, more than what you get with the Frunk if people actually do it.
So it seems to me that you obviously use pass-through a lot. Like that's your main go-to all day, every day. As me personally, it's something I don't really use much. There's been quite a fall off of interest from developers making games using mixed reality. And I think obviously because Quest 3 has been the biggest so far mixed reality headset on the market, not many people have experienced occlusion, like good occlusion.
Yeah.
And that in itself is a real game changer. Like I'll never forget the first time I experienced that. Because mixed reality, you feel like this stuff is in your room, but at the same time, you don't necessarily feel part of that experience without occlusion. And then when you've got occlusion, it just adds a whole new layer of immersion.
Yeah, I think the difference is, or let me, I want to say it in the most simple way I can.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, so I just think we're so used to in VR having like a cartoony avatar represent you in a virtual world. And when you have like hand occlusion, you see your full real life hand, arm with all the hair or watch, whatever you're wearing, and you're transported into that VR world. You actually feel more presence than if you were a cartoony avatar. And like you said, not many people have experienced that. And if they do experience that, I think people would want it more, for sure. The other side of, I hate bringing back predictions I made, but I really want to bring this up. I remember when everyone was talking about mixed reality games, I kind of said that I thought they were a dead end because they recreate the problem that room scale VR games did. So back in 2016, room scale VR, everyone's going to have games that cater to your room size and shape, and it's going to just figure it out. Well, what people realize quite quickly is, one, people don't actually have that much space to crawl around their room and do stuff. And two, you actually can't create a very cohesive experience if you're not designing it's like a linear game, right? Yeah. You design a linear experience, you know what players are going to be doing, you can design something really compelling for that. Whereas mixed reality games, if you try to make a story game that's mixed reality focused, developer has no idea what the crap their room is going to look like and if they're going to trip over a couch or whatever. So I was guessing that the whole mixed reality things popping out your wall or whatever would not really fall off. But I do think mixed reality has its value and stuff like the spatial computing stuff or playing your games on a virtual screen, because even Valve, they were kind of misleading a bit with showing the Steam frame playing the big games on the virtual screen in their yard.
So many problems.
Yeah. Even Valve knows that people will want color pass-through to do stuff like that, even if the headset doesn't come out of the box like that. And I think also tabletop games work for that, but for the variety of like fully immersive experiences, you're gonna want VR for, and that's why I still love stuff like the Vision Pro over like X-Real or all that stuff, because I think if you want more than just the computing or the productivity stuff, being able to switch into a VR environment is gonna still have value for a lot of people in entertainment ways.
I agree. Another big issue of all headsets is obviously weight and comfort. I think a headset itself without the strap is it 190 grams? I think they've said.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
which is incredibly light. I don't know how much big screen weighs.
So big screen, man, I'm gonna
Beyond 2.
I think it's 180 grams for the whole big screen Beyond with the light strap. Yeah.
Right, and a lot of people get the Vive Pro. Is it the Vive Pro? The Valve? Is it the Vive Pro head strap they add to that?
The Valve Index,
the Valve,
the one with the speakers that go to your side. Yeah, a lot of people have been doing that recently. They call that Project Beyond Dex. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm really hoping that Valve really nail comfort with this, and I love Bobo and the accessories we get for MetaQuest because they're needed. But I'm really hoping. I think it's like a value thing. People don't necessarily take it into account that we're always spending maybe an extra $100, $150 just to be able to wear the thing for long periods of time. I'm really hoping that is part of the development of Steam Frame.
And not just that, there will be, I mean, we're enthusiasts, so of course we'll spend that money to upgrade the comfort of our headset. But there's a lot of people who buy a headset, it's not comfortable for them, so they chuck it in the closet or return it because they don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's really frustrating. But I do think we're in if we're going into this new age of XR, I think comfort is like the big thing everyone's focusing on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It can stop you wanting to use it, like you just said.
Yeah. Everyone's making super thin and light headsets and glasses or whatever. Meta's working on the mixed reality glasses called Phoenix now. You'll see something from Pico very similar to that as well. I've heard it's like 300 grams for the whole thing. I think, who was it? Play for Dream showed off something this week at CES. Oh, more interesting than that, Gamertag, who is the mass production / final assembler for Meta products, including the Meta display glasses, all the Quest headsets. They also make PSVR 2. They make all the Pico. They make a lot of stuff. They're at CES this week, and they actually did also show off a reference design for 100 grams 4K micro OLED per eye, 60OF color pass through. That's what everyone's just doing right now. It's the thing that I think in the next year or two people are just gonna be like, wow, these things are tiny. I can't believe we were putting on these toasters on our head literally a year ago, sort of thing. So I'm glad that things are moving that way as well.
Yeah, just literally so many people in the industry being involved in virtual reality is just amazing. Yeah, I'm just hoping that all these companies are really successful. I have not used a Play for Dream headset. I haven't used a Big Screen Beyond. In that way, I am massively behind tech. The last thing I tried, which had really good clarity, is the Pimax, whatever that one is back there. I think it's
Crystal.
The Crystal, yeah. That was insane, but I just hated wearing it. It was just so crazy heavy. And when I made the video about that, people come at me because they're like, "This is a sim headset, dude. You're supposed to sit completely still and just look around at things that look great." But I just found it really weird that to wear a VR headset that constantly reminded me I was in VR, like I was wearing a headset.
And even Pimax, who, like people said, they're a simmer headset. If you look at their new products, they seem to be slowly going away from the big stuff, and they're making stuff more similar to the Beyond now. So, yeah, everyone's doing it.
So how many companies are now making VR headsets?
Honestly, maybe too many still. But,
yeah,
like Play for Dream, obviously, it's kind of weird because I think Play for Dream's trying to get into the Android XR ecosystem. They're making headsets. Samsung released their headset. a few months ago. Obviously, that's the first Android XR. We got Valve back in the hardware category again. Meta's, we have to wait till next year for Meta. Apple's still doing stuff. I mean, it goes. Ironically, it seems like big screen's doing extremely well. They're like
Yeah.
they came to be like the dark horse of VR, I think. But I worry about them because I do think their thing was that thin and light thing, but now that everyone's doing it, I think as soon as someone releases a good standalone in that form factor, big screen might start struggling a bit. Another cool thing is there's direct compatibility of Steam Frame with the Steam controller gamepad as well. Like you'll be able to see your controller when you're holding onto it, when you're connecting it.
Nice. That is cool because I've not got one of those. I've never used one. I'm assuming we're going to get one with the Steam machine.
Yeah, there is one. It's a brand new one. It looks like I mean, you gotta look it up. It's really wacky. It's basically like a Steam Deck, but they like took off the screen. They rotated the touchpads a little bit to make it more comfortable when you're hovering over the.
I had seen it. Yeah, I know what you're on about.
Yep. And another interesting thing about it that not many people know is the grips of this controller. While it's not as precise as the capacitive that's used for finger tracking on the Index and now the Steam Frame controllers, they actually can sense when your hands are either far away or on the grips, which you can use for like gyro aiming stuff. So a lot of neat stuff that I think could be applied for VR as well in bindings.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to like developers getting a eye-tracked headset that potentially is going to be mass marketed, and then we're going to see like VR really make use of eye tracking versus like the odd amazing experience like Synapse on PSVR 2, for example, where the whole gameplay mechanic was using eye tracking, which I thought was really special. So I'm really looking forward to developers getting that stuff, and that will make everyone ready because surely every headset going forward now will have eye tracking. Surely.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's finally that time.
Yeah. It feels like it's been a long time coming when I speak to loads of people. I mean, how long have you been in the VR space? I'm sure you tweeted out you've been in it 10 years.
Yeah, this is my 10th year this month.
That's
officially.
crazy, man. I've been doing it 8 years, but I was stuck in a single ecosystem for about 2 years of that with PSVR. And I remember getting the Oculus Rift and it just blew my mind because on PSVR, I was just using like Move controllers, light-based trade. Didn't even have joysticks, and then suddenly you've got these incredible controllers. God, I love that headset, man. Was it a CV1? Did you invest? Did you like day one that?
I didn't day one it. I was back when the Vive, because I was a poor little lad back then. I could only afford one $800 headset, so I was on the Vive train. But I later did get the CV1 to check it out, and a lot of the design decisions with that headset are still like the comfort of that headset is just so good.
Yeah,
and it's crazy how far away we came from that in the years leading, and now we're finally getting back to that sort of comfort value thing. So.
Yeah, I love that headset, man. I'm really upset that Meta have really kind of turned their back on PCVR when I think at the moment PCVR is getting a bit of an uprising. In my mind, it feels that way. The amount of developers I work with, they're always like, "Oh, PCVR, it's not selling well on there and stuff." But to me, it looks like it might be an uprising coming.
I think one of the big points of Valve releasing the Steam Frame is they're actually trying to reboost the PCVR ecosystem again.
Yeah.
Whether that means, I mean, it's kind of cool. I don't know how many games are going to work well with this, but the Steam Frame can actually play your PCVR game standalone if it's performant enough. Like they were showing off the game Ghost Town. They weren't playing a build.
Hold on a minute. Maybe this is something I don't know.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that when you said you can play your Steam VR game? So you're saying I could go into my Steam library and download, for example, Tactical Assault, and it would run on the Steam Frame standalone.
Yeah.
Fuck, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they're using x86 to ARM translation layers called FEX, which they funded it since 8 years ago. Actually, they've been funding it for 8 years to get it to the point where it can do your entire Steam library, including Steam VR games. Now, and obviously, there's a performance detriment compared to running ARM-built games, but
yeah,
again, when they were doing the big press reveal, when they were showing off the game Ghost Town to everyone, that wasn't an ARM-built game. That was the full PCVR x86 that was being emulated, translated, and everything from 6 to ARM Linux. So, yeah.
Man, that's crazy. So, like, do you think there will be developers possibly making graphical options set for Steam Frame. It'd be like benchmarking your system, for example. Do you think they'll be doing that?
That's what they did for Steam Deck, and I think that's the easiest way for developers to get some quick modifications out of Steam Frame.
That's amazing. And another thing, I think the reason Steam Machine and Steam Frame will be more popular is because prices of games on there at the moment compared to like buying a game on a PlayStation. Not all the time, some people seem to really rein it in, like Art Raiders, for example, was like £30 for me in my money on Steam, but it was £32 on the PlayStation. But you don't always see that same pricing, sometimes you buy a game on PlayStation, it's automatically 50 or 60 pounds. Yeah. So that's amazing.
One more thing, I'm not here to sell headsets or anything, but I just want people to know what I've heard recently because I've been pretty quiet since Steam Frame was announced, and there's some things that I've heard since then. Valve hires a bunch of contractors to work on a variety of stuff for Steam Deck, Steam Frame, build out the software. And the latest I've heard is they're actually, one thing people were hoping for is that since one of the big values is playing flat games in like the big theater,
yeah,
people were hoping, will they have like some sort of 2D to 3D?
Yeah. I was one of them, dude. I was thinking this is going to be a killer feature, but go on.
Yeah, that is still being worked on, and I've heard that contractors are more specifically doing it right now with games like Hollow Knight, and it's working quite well.
Oh man, that'd be.
It might not come at launch, but it's definitely coming.
And I think that will definitely make more people want to check out Color Pastor as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So if someone sells a module for that feature will boost the sales of that module for whoever works on it.
One thing we haven't spoke about is, I guess, the suspected price of Steam Frame. We quickly touched on it on Steam Machine, but what do you think it's going to be for the frame?
I'm betting $700, frankly. I can see that happening. I don't know. I just think the design, while it's definitely less of like enthusiast grade, like the Index, I still feel there's a lot of things they did in the design that adds more cost than if they just built something like the Quest. That makes me feel it's going to cost a bit more. So, and they're being pretty realistic too, because I think the supply chain says that they've only ordered to have 500,000 made in its first year, the entire year.
Right.
So I think that's pretty reflective as well as like what Valve expects to sell, what they're going to price it at and stuff. So I would not be shocked if it's like $700, $800 type dollars, honestly.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
Yeah, I mean, the Quest 4, I think one of the things that they leaked in that roadmap is it's going to be more expensive as well than previous Quests. So I just think prices for headsets are starting to tilt up because people are not upgrading gen by gen as they thought. Like they released the Quest S, they thought that everyone with a Quest 2 is going to want to upgrade to it, but it just wasn't the big enough jump that consumers want from a headset. So I think the big strategy now is they're going to have longer kind of like a console. Consoles have pretty long periods between
5 years sometimes.
And I think for VR that makes the most sense, especially if you are targeting like console prices for these things. So have bigger upgrades, but more time and cost as time goes on.
Yeah, nice, dude. Well, we said we was going to do it for a long time, so I'm really pleased we got the first one out there. And I look forward to seeing everyone's comments as well. And also let us know if there's anything you want us to discuss for the next episode. I think that'd be pretty cool. Have you got any like goals, or I guess, as I said, before we started this chat, I basically said to Brad that I'm going to try and prioritize the important over the, how did I put it? I want to prioritize the important over the urgent, because it always seems like I'm trying to chase something or be the first to do it or anything like that. And that has made friends and family kind of go on the back burner, unfortunately, a little bit. And I want to change that for this year. I don't want to go for any regrets as I get older, obviously, and look back on this time thinking I didn't even enjoy it. I was just too stressed out. Anything like that for you,
I have some dreams. I don't know if they're goals yet, but I'm going to go in a little spiel of what I want to do, because obviously I've been pretty bad with my YouTube channel. I uploaded one video last year.
Just one video. I uploaded more content about you than you did.
Yes, that was good. I felt like when I did that video with you, I was like, oh, okay, good. I'm good. I don't need to do anything for a while. But I do have a video coming out, and one thing is I've been like So I have like a 180-degree camera lens that goes on my Canon. It's like stereo 180-degree VR. I've been going to, even though I haven't been uploading videos, I've been like recording a bunch of crap at like components and like tech events that I've been going to last year. And I've been like actually cutting them down to like 3D video and everything for like a big recap of everything I saw last year and why I'm still so excited about XR and everything. I want to get that video out, even though like I think 1% of the viewers will be able to actually watch it in like the full 3D or whatever. But the other thing is, I'm so freaking excited. Okay, so I was talking to GT before the stream as well about how I was in China for 2 months. And the most exciting aspect to me that I didn't talk to him about was that really proved how much I freaking love the concept of spatial computing, because obviously I'm in a completely other side of the planet for a long period of time. I can't bring my freaking PC keyboard, just like I can't do any of that. So I just brought my headset, and going everywhere with like a headset that can just have its own self-contained powerful PC doing everything that I wanted to do
Yeah.
was phenomenal. And I'm like, I've been brainstorming this concept for a couple years where I want to like combine like travel vlogging with like the spatial computing world, where I go to different areas, I show how it's like to just be in the mountains somewhere with your stupid headset on doing stupid things. But also the other big thing that happened last year, and it's been happening as well, is Gaussian splats are so freaking cool. What Gaussian splats are is you basically like take pictures or record video of you. Oh, the meta release.
Yeah. I know he's
What
gonna
is
say
that called? Put on your headset, you look around your room, it sends it up to a server, and then it basically turns that into a splat that you can share with people. And that's one way to do splats, and I think it's great. Another way to do splats is like my face here, my avatar. But also, there's been so much advancements in this, and seeing how you can just like capture your world in different environments, and even like memories where people are now, it's now good enough with like the AI to take a picture of your family in like a beautiful location, and it converts that into a super realistic splat where you can even travel behind the scenes
Yeah.
of where you're at. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that are happening right now that like makes me want to like figure out how to incorporate all these advances coming out, because like, I'll probably talk a lot about that in my video as well. But it's freaking amazing, like what's happening right now, and it's just so freaking close. I love it.
It's really,
Yeah.
I mean, considering like the sales of things like camcorders and people making videos and photos that now, and it's called Hyperscape capture, that you can actually be transported back in time to a place, like, and feel it still exists. I was very lucky to be at MetaConnect. I think it's 2023, maybe 2024. And this is before, I guess, Meta have bought this technology, or bought the company who made the technology, I'm assuming. They basically pulled me aside and they're like, oh, can you try this thing we've got going in this little room? Because we want to hear your feedback. And I went in there and I was automatically transported to like this workshop, this guy's mechanical workshop. Not only did it blow me away that I felt like I was there, it was the fact that the reflections kind of moved with my eyes. It wasn't like a real dead image, you know, it looked alive. And yeah, and then suddenly, obviously now it's become an amazing app. And I was going to scan my room for my people who subscribe to my channel, but then my wife saw it and said, there's no way you're doing that because there's loads of there's loads of rubbish in the corner. The room looks messy. And I was like, all right, I won't bother doing it. But
It's like when you're talking about the peering thing. So like we've had 3D photos, we've had 3D movies, which allows you to stare blankly straight and get that one rendered view. But it's to the point where you can literally convert photos, especially what's getting into videos, where you can convert it to basically 6DOF photos or videos, where you can literally just, as you say, you can peer around. If you were looking at me in a photo where I'm doing this,
I do that.
you'd be able to look behind my head. You'd be looking around my head. You can do that. And I think when people see that, they'll be like, wow, this is crazy. This is a killer feature. Even my wife, I showed that feature to her, and she literally was like, wow, people should buy a headset just for this. It's like one of those freaking features, I think.
I think Meta know that as well because I've seen them pushing it on Instagram. A lot of these big influencers suddenly doing this kind of tech. But I don't know if I told you this. When I first got Hyperscape and I scanned my room, and this is a big mistake. I basically went into my room in VR while being in my room, and then I went to walk around in my Hyperscape capture and walked straight into my desk because wherever I started was completely different to where I was in reality. And I walked into it so hard, dude. Like,
that's awesome.
Full speed walk. And that was kind of mind blowing to me. You know, I was like, wow, like that's how much I believed I was somewhere else. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. 2026, I think, is going to be a really surprising kind of turn for everything of where we think things are. And I think that's why this podcast, us starting it, talking about this stuff, is kind of good timing.
Yeah, definitely, as GT said, right in the comments, other stuff that we missed that has been going on that we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
Hey, there is stuff going on. It's just like you gotta look a little closer because it's all in like the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, thanks for joining me, Brad. I look forward to our next episode, and I can't wait for the episode when we actually have Steam Frame. Like,
that'll be crazy.
It's gonna be nuts.
I don't even know what I'll do. That'll be like the first time I'm doing a video call without this headset on. That'd be weird.
Oh, so you're gonna probably use Steam? Well, do you think they get?
I'll figure out something.
They're not doing avatars and stuff with that, are they?
Probably not. I don't expect anything like that.
Especially if it looks anything like Horizon, dude. I'm not letting you do it. I'll be like, you're not doing that, man. I remember when John Carmack did his Meta Connect for that Horizon, and I couldn't watch it, and I love watching that dude talk.
Yeah, it was very awkward.
It was awkward. Upload still do it with their avatars, and for some reason,
I didn't want to say it, but yeah, I'm shocked they still do it.
I know. I find it really disconnecting. You know.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's a shame. And I don't know whether it's probably due to like lack of facial. Well, they don't look like them. They don't look like anyone. They just look like, I don't know, horrible avatars. That's the only way I can describe it.
Oh, it doesn't show off like the latest technology for avatars and the medium in general. So
yeah, I'd rather just see the dudes. Like personally, I would tune in a lot more if it was just the dudes doing their thing. But I get it; they got a nice little studio set up, a screen. They've obviously invested a lot of time into it. But yeah, maybe that'll evolve in time. I'm sure it will. But yeah, dude. Anyway, this could turn into a waffle, dude. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.